the tax on unrealized capital gains in superannuation for super balances above $3 million, why this is going to hurt the poorest and most neediest here in Australia.
We don't want an unrealised capital gains tax in this country. That means if your shares go up in value or your property goes up in value, you're paying tax on that gain before you sell the shares or you sell the property. It's actually like saying to somebody who's a wage earner, we want you to pay your tax before you get paid your wage.
Hey everyone, Scott here, coming to you from Tasmania. Beautiful place, look at it. Staying at this gorgeous homestead. Absolutely love it. Now, guys, I do believe everyone should benefit from the bounty of the land and the economy here in this wonderful country. I do not believe that people that need help should not get that help. I am all 100% for sharing the wealth around. However, I do need to let you know and share this stat with you, and you may not be aware that actually it is 1 in 8 Australians that actually pays the bills for every other Australian here in this country. 1 in 8. Now, we are putting so much pressure on this 1 in 8 people, this 1 in 8 category, that if we continue to do it, we're going to push these people away from Australia. We're going to push their money offshore outside of Australia. Ultimately, we will collect less tax because this 1 in 8 people, these people are paying almost 50-60% of all taxes here in Australia. And if we push them away, we will not have the tax to be able to look after those most vulnerable, those most in need. So whilst in theory, raising taxes on the most rich here in the country to help those most in need sounds good, if you push it beyond a certain limit where it starts to get totally unfair, then you even start to get those people who have worked incredibly hard, have taken a lot of really tough decisions, have taken a lot of risk, have acted with a lot of courage, have worked extremely hard to not only earn the money, but to put their money to work, to invest and make investment choices rather than spending it or splurging or wasting it. They've stayed away from drugs, they've stayed away from alcohol, they've kept their families together, they've kept their marriages intact, they've made a lot of great decisions in life. And what actually that has ended up meaning is that they have found themselves as one of the 1 in 8 that are paying 50-60% of the taxes in this country. Now, if we push these people out of this country, then where will we get all our tax from? So what is unrealized capital gains? Well, guys, what is capital gains? Capital gains is the money you make on the buying and the selling of an asset. So let's say, for example, you buy a brand new fridge from Harvey Norman, you pay $2,000 for it. Let's say a year later, you sell that fridge for $3,000. I mean, typically you sell it for less, but let's just imagine it's a limited edition, people really want it, and the price of that fridge appreciates and you sell it for $3,000. Well, you've made technically a $1,000 capital gain. That's exactly what it is. Now, that transaction is not taxed because the government says, hey, you are not buying that fridge for investment purposes. You are not buying it to derive an income or to improve your wealth. So they only do it on things where you're trying to improve your wealth, you're trying to create income, you're trying to create net worth. For example, property. Buy a property at 1 million, sell it for 2 million. You've made a $1 million capital gain. We're going to tax that capital gain. You've got a business, okay? You start the business up for 5 million, you sell it for 15 million. You've made a $10 million capital gain on the sale of the business. So we're going to tax that $10 million. Now, the tax office, what they do to date, and the principle of our tax code is they only tax capital gains that are realized. They only tax capital gains that actually happen where you actually do receive the cash. For example, if I buy a property for $1 million and sell that property for $2 million, I actually do sell it and I collect the $2 million on the sale. I have collected that money. That means that that profit is realized. It's at that point that I am taxed. With the unrealized capital gain, what they do is the government comes along every year and says, hey, you bought the property for 1 million. We believe that it's now worth 2 million. Even though you have not sold it, you've made $1 million on paper, you don't have the money, but we're going to tax you on that $1 million gain, even though you do not have the cash. What this means is that the person that actually owns that asset now has to find potentially up to $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 in cash to pay the capital gains tax on that $1 million paper gain. It's not a real gain. This causes huge problems in the economy. Basically, it will dissuade people from investing into business, from investing into property, and to investing into anything here in Australia. Because once we do this inside the super, it sends the signal to big companies offshore. It sends a signal to high net worth individuals considering to live here. It sends a signal to high net worth individuals here in Australia today that the government is going to break a really big principle and start to tax unrealized gains. Yes, for now, it's in the super, but it's sending the signal that they may start to do it in other areas and other places. This is the big problem. I can tell you right now that those 1 in 8 people are talking right now around their dining room tables, in their boardrooms, in their businesses, and in their circles. They're talking about this, and they're trying to figure out right now how to move their money offshore. So guys, 1 in 8, well, look at the population. It's around 26 million. Now take a look at this chart. So we've got young children. They're obviously dependent. We've got pensioners, millions of them. They're obviously dependent. We've got 800, 900,000 people on job seeker, unemployed, receiving unemployment benefits. They are dependent. And then you've actually got all the other people. You've got people that are working. Now you break up the people that are working into the different groups. So take a look at this chart of all the working people that pay taxes. Now, as you can see, the top group, the top 1%, and then the next 9%, so the top 10%, are paying almost 45 to 50% of all taxes, and they take very little back. You then look at the next group, and in fact, if you look at the bottom 50% of all taxpayers, they're only paying 10, 11, 12% of all taxes, but in fact, they receive a lot from the government. So they are net receivers of support, whereas the top 10% are net contributors of support. You don't want to be hating on that top 10%. You want to be encouraging that top 10% anywhere in the world to come here and pay our tax, fairly pay tax. You also want to be encouraging Aussies who are not in that top 10% to find their way into that top 10%. And you want an economy that's growing and booming and vibrant so that more and more people can make their way into that category so that we can collect more tax to help the most vulnerable. So guys, I just want to remind you that the 1 in 8 Aussies that's supporting everyone else, don't hate on these people. Appreciate these people. They've worked very hard to get there. In the majority of cases, they haven't received a big inheritance or had this money handed to them. In the majority of cases, they've spent a lot of time studying at uni, starting businesses, working very hard in their careers, climbing the ladder, climbing the corporate ladder, climbing the business ladder. Maybe they're in health, maybe they're doctors. They've worked 12, 15 years to get to where they are. Don't hate on them, encourage them. Don't make the rules so tough that you push these people away from the country. Don't make the rules so tough that you make tax cheaters of them because it becomes so unfair. They start to look at ways of avoiding paying their tax legally. We don't want that. So if you're one of those 1 in 8 people, you're a single, you're earning $150,000, you're a family, you've got a household income of $200,000 plus, the burden of supporting this country is on you. I appreciate you and I applaud you. Thank you. And to those who are receiving support from taxpayers who are getting help and assistance, well, I think that is a great thing, that we've got to get our budget under control, because right now we are in a $30-40 billion a year deficit in things like NDIS, things like Centrelink, pensions, healthcare are blowing out because of our aging population and also because of our massively low productivity. So guys, I'd love to know your thoughts on this. How do you feel about the 1 in 8? Are you one of the 1 in 8? Who do you know that's one of the 1 in 8? How do you feel about them? You love them? Do you appreciate them? Do you hate them? Do you despise them? How do you feel about taxing on unrealized capital gains? Is this a good thing for the country moving forward or a bad thing? How do you feel about the massive debt that we are accruing as a country? Let me know. Guys, hit like and subscribe for more information, more thought-provoking truth bombs like this on Australian property investing, breaking free from the system, getting ahead, improving your net wealth, financial freedom, the economy, and what's actually happening out there in the world of money.